to that is there was a study that was just released, Assemblyman, that showed New Yorkers to be the unhappiest population in the United States, regardless of how we are being redistricted. Now to Assemblyman Dan Burling, who is a Republican, different perspective.
A little bit. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to the League of Women Voters and the Rockefeller Institute. I first heard about gerrymandering when I was in 9th grade. Didn't mean too much to me then. Sure does now. I don't have the experience with redistricting that my colleague Bill Parman has, but I did go through redistricting 10 years ago. And I can tell you that it's quite an experience. And if you're in the minority, it's even a more horrible experience. The first thing they do when they draw the districts is very, very political. It's very political. And what they do is when they first draw the map, and Bill will tell you this, that the party that's not in control, so to speak, in this case in the assembly, you all of a sudden have a whole bunch of your friends in your same district that gets created. and this creates a lot of agita between members in their own party, and then you get what happens, what I call redistricting-itis. All of a sudden, you've got people in your district that are walking through your district and sending mailers in your district, friends of yours, and because everybody is trying to hedge their bets and try to position themselves where they can get elected in this district that now is in your district. I'm a pharmacist. I'm in a drugstore in town of Pembroke, and actually work in that store. I have people come to my drugstore all the time who want to have their problems dealt with, and I have to tell them, Pembroke's not my district anymore after redistricting, so I don't even represent myself. I had the whole upper half. I was in. It's very interesting, politically very interesting though. But I succeeded Tom Reynolds in the assembly. He was the minority. He was the minority leader of the Republican conference. And he went on to go to Congress. I succeeded him, and the district had 6 counties in it. Now, why would the district have 6 counties? Why was it? And he had a part in drawing that district. And I'll tell you why. I had the whole upper half of Cattaraugus County. I had 2 towns in Erie. I had 6 towns in Allegheny. I had my hometown of Alexander, 10 towns in Genesee County. I had 6 towns in Livingston. I think that's in all of Wyoming County. And the reason that was drawn that way by him is so that nobody would have a base in order to run against him. It's a very political process. Just think about it. The only base would be Wyoming County, and Wyoming County is only 42,000 people. I mean, the district that I'm in, and so what happens through the process, and it's very interesting. Bill Parman and I are in 2 different parties, but Bill and I have been friends since I came here in the legislature 12 years ago. We share a common interest. I was in the Marine Corps. He's a son in the Marine Corps. We first met at a meeting on what was it? It was about a railroad authority or something, And he checked me out, and I checked him out, and we talked afterwards, and we had similar philosophies about government. But he drew me a pretty nasty district the first time. But and why am I here? I've been appointed by my leader, Brian Cole, to represent us as we move forward with the redistricting process. I guess what I should do is tell you what our position is, and as far as redistricting. And it probably does make quite a bit of difference whether you're the person in power or not in power. That'd be very candid. But our position, and my position, is that we form an independent redistricting commission. There are actually bills in the assembly. They're bipartisan bills. We have a bill here, and I have copies if you'd like. Assembly member Gallup was a Democrat. I'm on the bill, and it's co-sponsored in the Senate by Senator Madison. So there are bills out there to make constitutional changes to put this into effect. The legislature has to have the intestinal fortitude to move ahead and do it. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know. I mean, what I'm prepared probably to do is move forward. Obviously, we have to have a census. That will be done. Census information, I think, goes out in March, and the process will work its way through, and we have to see what the population looks like. And the population, if it continues the way it has continued, is population density is going to grow in the urban areas and in the cities, the city of New York, and some of our big cities, Binghamton, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, and that causes a shift. And there's 150, and I'll talk just to the assembly, but there's 150 assembly seats. You take the population of New York State, which is somewhere around 19 million now, you divide 150, and you come out with somewhere around 130,000 people. And as Bill said, there is an allowance, I think, of 5% one way or the other. I am familiar, having talked to Bill a lot about the redistricting process, about how complicated it is. And just as one example that Bill gave is how that one town, the town on, what we call it, block on town borders, if you change, one piece, the ripple effect is clear across the state. We have, maybe Blair will show it with this slide, but we have one district that goes east to west across 7 different counties. You have the infamous congressional seat. That's another thing too. I talked to my Congressman Lee, and I was the first one to tell him that we'll be drawing his congressional district. A lot of these congressmen don't realize it, but they are subject to the legislature. Okay, they're kind of independent from us, but every 10 years the legislature will draw their congressional districts. So the political process, and it's definitely a political process, just doesn't extend across the state legislature, but into Congress too. It's probably, I gave up an opportunity to run for Congress. As I said, I took over Tom Reynolds' assembly seat, and then when he went to Congress, and then he got out of Congress, and they thought that I would be the odds-on favorite to run for Congress. I probably could have. My problem is, I looked ahead, I don't think that congressional seat's going to be here. And be one of my duties, obviously, as a Republican, to try to protect that. But the way the legislature sits right now, with a Democratic governor, Democrats in control of both House of the legislature, it's going to be a very, very difficult time for Republicans. We propose changes. I don't see those changes taking place. I think though, with a lot of the good government groups out there, a lot of the pressure that you're seeing coming on Albany, the ethics legislation, mandates for the legislature to conduct business in a much more open manner. You may see an awful lot of pressure from the government groups, from the press, and from the public out there to mandate this change. And I can tell you, that's what motivates people in political office to make change. And I say it's pain. They have to feel pain. When they feel pain and feel threatened, then they do things. And they don't do things until they feel that. They have Blair's laugh, but he knows, But it's going to be an interesting process. Like I say, my friend Joe Regal, who I drive back and forth from Albany with, has one of the 4 towns that don't have Livingston County. The first time to do my district, Joe was in my district. Very good friend here. And that happened to an awful lot of people. Very good friends. You built closeness between certain individuals. Usually they're close to your district. And all of a sudden you're thrown into to a survival mode where one of you has to go, or somehow get it divided. And my case, we got the district pulled apart, separated, but it's I think we lost 5 or 6 Republican seats in this last year district. So it's definitely just a horrendous political process. The party politics is about power and who's in charge, and I don't really see that changing. I can tell you that I'm on this bill that would form an independent committee or council, but somehow politics always finds its way into that. Even, as Bill alluded to earlier, judges. The judges are supposed to be completely separate from any political influence, but they have to run every 10 years or every 14 years, Supreme Court Justice, or every 6 years, and they have to run under a party label, and they have to gather support. It's very interesting how judges start to pay more attention to their decisions, their constituents, when they get within a year of election. But, so it is it's a tremendous political process. You know, I look forward to working with Bill. I think it's going to be interesting. He is extremely knowledgeable. I don't profess to be. I'll be doing a lot of reading. As I say, I've personally experienced it myself. But I think we need openness. We need districts that are more clearly represented. And ultimately, the process should not benefit those in elected office, but it should benefit the people out there who are being represented. So, with that,
Thank you.
that's our position.
Just